Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Ask an Angel with Jonathan Hung. It's my pleasure to introduce Danny Beckett Jr. from FlexTal, who's the CEO and founder of the company. Danny, thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Jonathan. This is really cool. Excited to chat today and talk about what's happening in your world and mine.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's kick it off. Let's talk about what FlexTal is. How did you come up with the idea of the company?
Yeah, I've been a serial entrepreneur and I've started a lot of companies, and obviously I've hired a lot of W-2 folks and I've hired a lot of freelancers over the years. And I also owned a couple of agencies, and we'd hire a lot of freelancers to fill in the gaps. But the issue that I always found was really empathizing with the freelancer was chasing. Essentially, you had to chase contracts. All right, you had to chase your own work. You had to write your proposals. You had to do all your invoicing and be able to make bill enough hours to put food on the table. And it was just a lot of friction. It was really difficult to be a freelancer. You look at like Upwork, publicly traded, largest freelance platform, started about 22 years ago. Essentially, it took a long time to get to where we are today, where freelance is, I think there's 59 million freelancers in America. But what we saw was really an opportunity to remove the friction primarily from the freelancer. We knew there was demand just because of digital transformation. We always knew that there was demand, and you just couldn't keep up with all the skills that you needed as an organization. We knew the demand was there, but what we knew more than anything is that we had to remove the friction from the freelancers. And they were first. And if we did that, we could acquire them and we could drive the demand side of the business because they wanted access to that talent. So but it really, again, started with the experience of hiring a lot of freelancers, working with them and realizing how much friction was there. And then that kind of came to creating a vision around what would a platform look like, not a marketplace, where marketplaces really don't remove the friction, right? Yes, there's the talent there, but you still have to post the job. You have to vet all the talent. There's a lot of friction. And then on the talent side, they still have to bid for the work, try to win the work. Like, we just said, screw all that. Let's take all that friction out. We'll take that on as the platform and just make it really easy. And if we can do that, we're the next generation of freelance marketplace. It's blue ocean. Your typical staffing firms, your freelance marketplaces, that space is red ocean. There's a ton of competition. It's been done. But to move in and make it simple and easier on both sides, that's really where we see the opportunity and see the market.
Okay, wonderful. One of the biggest questions I'd love to ask is, you hear about this phrase on CNBC talk about the Great Resignation. And how do you think FlexTal can take advantage of that and everyone coming out of everything that happened in 2020, where we see ourselves going forward?
Yeah, I think the whole Great Resignation thing, there's a lot of factors driving it. And on the low wage, low skill side, you have the current situation that's driving that. Let's just be honest, there's free money. So why work if there's free money? And even contractors were offered the ability to get unemployment. That's never been true, right? Unless you had a job, you couldn't really get unemployment. So essentially, you had a ton of people out there collecting free money and doing contract and freelance work on the side. And they had a lot of people taking advantage of that. So the low skill, low wage, that's not our world, but that's what's going on there. That's just the reality of it. I don't know how you solve that problem, to be honest. But in the high skill, high cognitive world that we live in, what's driving that is just the number of options that are available out there, the competition, and the fact that everything is remote. So you have really big companies like Google or Facebook that can now hire people anywhere in the country, in the world, because of no different than what we're doing here. We're not together in a studio. So the opportunities are endless now. If you're talented and hardworking, you can go out there and hustle and get a really sweet job. Now, where the opportunity comes in for flexible talent is organizations are realizing that utilization of talent is really low. Statistically proven, people are only effective about 3 to 4 hours a day. Right now, you're paying them for 8. So why would you pay somebody for 8 when they're actually only productive 3 hours a day? So that's on the company side. I think a lot of organizations are realizing we need to restructure our workforce. Let's understand who are the key managers, who are the key leaders in our organization. Let's let them lead. Let's let them manage. So that's the core. And then let's wrap around flexible talent so the cost structure is actually better for the organization. Now, the talent side, what's happening there is because of underutilization, there's lack of stimulation. If I only have to work 3 hours a day, I'm bored the rest of the time. So what am I going to do? Am I going to go build a playhouse for the kids, or should I actually find a job that keeps me stimulated and challenged for a straight 8 hours a day? So what happens there is, because I'm not utilized and I'm not stimulated, I start going out on the hunt, right? Now I'm out there looking and applying, and I'm like, screw it. Very little risk. I'll jump over to this company. I don't like it there. I'll jump over to this company. And it used to be you had to move. I had to move to LA to get this job. Now I can just be like, screw it. I quit you. I'm going to try this job. I'm remote. That didn't work out either. Screw it. I'm going to join this other one in DC. And it's really easy. Even if it means I have to travel once out of the month, it's still not moving. Moving expenses were a huge thing, right? If you found talent, you had to move the talent there. And that was a big move to pick up your whole family and move across the country. And you don't have to do that anymore. So that's also what's driving the Great Resignation. I think 48% of the workforce is basically quitting right now. Because of all those things. And for us, it's just a huge opportunity to be in the space that we're in. And along with, I think it's 96% of organizations are rethinking their organizational structure and how they're going to build and manage their workforce. We're in a perfect spot right now to be a part of that conversation and to have a platform and a value prop that fits really nicely into that mix.
Wonderful. Who do you think is your target market right now? Do you go after small, medium businesses or enterprises, or is it just a mix? Who would make sense for FlexTal?
It's really interesting. So before the situation that we've gone through, there's about 68,000 agencies in America, huge market. And honestly, that was an evolution because of digital transformation. The whole agency market growth came out of a lot of digital transformation. Your traditional ad agencies that bought billboards and radio spots and stuff, that was 100-year-old agencies. But the evolution of that to try to keep up with digital transformation meant that the agency had to become full service. You had to do everything under the sun to be able to stay relevant in the market and serve your customer, because they didn't want to manage like 27 vendors doing different things just to accomplish what we needed to accomplish. Big companies in the last 3 to 5 years have actually brought agencies in-house. They've actually acquired agencies and brought them inside, and they have an internal agency, just like they are with innovation. A lot of innovations being brought internal, and they're instead of hiring McKinsey, they have an internal consultancy that goes in and works on different business units. Those have all been things that have been happening within the last 5 to 10 years. But it happened was they realized, crap, we're in a hiring freeze. The market's not doing anything right now. They're not making any decisions. What do? We have to let people go. We can't sit here and just keep paying people. Luckily, they can go and get unemployment. But once the agency realized we can shrink down and focus on managing partner level, and then we can come to a model like FlexTal, and then as we win contracts, we can match the talent within 5 to 10 days. So they're just staffing projects. As they win contracts and new clients, they're staffing those clients, and that's how they're growing their business. That was not how you grew an agency. The idea that I had a really nice office in New York, I had really beautiful chandelier, everyone wore really high-end, super nice clothing. It was like, come in, we'll give you a tour of our office. It was a whole ego play. So we were not able to tap into the agency before what we went through. But now the agency's become one of our primary customers. And we love it because once you land the agency, you expand. You may start with one contract that grows into 5, 7, 10. You got 10 flexible talent contracts with one agency. And again, that's a huge market. The agencies have always known their business models suck unless you love your lifestyle agency. But now they're thinking, I love the agency, but now there's a scalable way to grow this thing as well. We're excited about that. We're also excited about your small to medium sized, business. The mentality has always been keep staff as tight and small as possible. They don't tend to be like big business. There are maybe 1 or 2 core people in a department. They're not big department people where they're oftentimes wear multiple hats is the kind of idea within those companies. Not, hey, let's like an enterprise where let's staff all these very specific roles and we've got more capital, and it's just a whole different animal. So small to mid is great. We love them. They can make quick decisions. We love our sales cycles. They're 10 to 14 days from call to close. That's fast. We know there's an enterprise play here. The problem is enterprise doesn't really know exactly where we plug in. Are we procurement? Are we HR? Are we talent acquisition? The answer to all that is no. We need to work directly with the hiring manager because the hiring manager knows their talent needs, and they need to be able to say, hey, platform, I need this talent need. Boom, let me bring it in. But because of all the policy and at the enterprise level, they can't just go and hire direct and bring somebody in. But I believe that's going to change over the next 3 to 5 years. These large enterprises are going to find a way to move quick, because that's what keeps them innovative. We've seen so many organizations die just because they weren't able to move quick enough. And, that's what's so beautiful about startups is they can move quick and completely, disrupt an industry that's been around forever. So enterprises have to move here. They know they need to move here. They know they need to tap this talent set. But again, I think it's about 3 to 5 years before we really see that taking off and scaling.
Okay, let's switch gears and talk about your team, Danny. I think when I look at investors and I look at investments, I think we all talk about the same thing. It's all about the team. Idea is great, but it's all about execution. How did you build your team, and especially your leadership team, and who are they, and how have they helped you get to this point so far?
Yeah, I always say you can't connect the dots looking forward, only looking back. When I sit and reflect on my journey to where I am today, it's people I met 12 years ago, 15 years ago type of thing. And I kept that relationship strong. And that way, when I saw and needed to build out a solid team, I was able to reach into that relationship and say, hey, here's the vision. Here's what I'm building. Do you want to join me? I'd say pretty much everyone on my leadership team I've known for, over 10 years, as a matter of fact. Yeah. And we all met at different points, right? Like my director of customer success, I always told him, you're going to work for me someday. And that was like 13 years ago when we met. And I loved his joy for people and his ability to manage people, but his focus on customer success and experience. Like experience was everything to him. Last week, he sent us all brand new chairs for our office. Like he just this care and attention. And then my chief operating officer, we've done a ton of things together. He's a former summa cum laude from Harvard and Stanford, and we did just a lot of fun things together. And when I started this, I said, dude, I need some help on the ops side and process, and I'll run out front. I'll run strong and I'll raise money. But I need someone making sure that we're delivering. My chief marketing officer, he was the founder of Startup Weekend, one of the founders there, and sold that to Techstars. So that's, again, a relationship that years and years ago that I said, hey, man, someday he'd be a great chief marketing officer. If I were to give anybody advice, I think it'd be don't write anybody off. Build those relationships, build your network, but go deep, not wide necessarily. You can go wide and meet a ton of people, but you're never going to be able to utilize the width. But the depth that you can go with a few people, that's the impact. Those are the people that you'll be able to bring into your life somehow, some way, and truly build something special that you're proud of and make a difference. Just pay attention, be on the outlook for strong leaders that could join you on your mission to build something. That's how I have always looked at things.
Let's talk about your competitors. What would you say FlexTal is doing differently than them? You mentioned Upwork before. I've obviously used Upwork, but I like FlexTal better because it's more personalized. But what would you say sets you apart?
Again, I looked at Upwork like its own market. It took this idea of a contractor, which came in the 60s, 70s. It wasn't very common at all that you would go out on your own. Not only do you get a job, but you get a job like really close to your home. Okay, that was the historical evolution of a job. You went to work as close as you could to your home, and you learn on the job in many cases too. You never want to go after a small market. It makes it really difficult to build anything unique and compete. But Upwork built a market around being a marketplace for companies and freelancers to find each other. Beautiful. They estimate it to be a $1.3 trillion market. We're more service available market, probably right around $480 billion. You need to go after a big market that allows for some error to happen and for you to really find product market fit, and then take your piece of that. Once you figure it out, you go hard and you take your chunk of that market, knowing that you're going to have a number of competitors playing, but it's not necessarily a bad thing. It forces you to stay competitive, to stay relevant, and you're going to win, you're going to lose. That's just part of the game. But so Upwork, though, is playing in a lot. Now that they're a public company, they're moving around. They oftentimes play like a staffing firm a little bit. They play like a marketplace. They try to play our world a little bit. But once you get that big, it's hard to be good at any one of those things. You're a little bit to everybody. You're trying to serve a really $1.3 trillion market. And to do that, you're not necessarily obsessed with delivering on one value prop, like a singular value prop. And because of that's what creates the opportunity for FlexTal. And we have another competitor called Marketer Hire. I love their organization, but all they do is marketing talent. The challenge with that is again, what happened with the agency. The agency was like, now I have to do everything for everybody. And we have to have all this staff and all this stuff. But the organization didn't want to go to 10 different people necessarily. That's why the agency had to be full service. So for marketer hire, it's yes, great value prop, like great vertical. But what happens when I need a finance person? The nice thing about FlexTal is where you can be all in one platform. You have one relationship, you know what the experience is. That way you can just continue to rely on that. And you get a finance person, a marketer, you get a sales consultant, you get all of that talent that you need from one platform. And again, we can focus on verticals within that and we can move things around. I would say the other thing that's big is we're all dealing with this, right? This was the early search game or even in social, it's your algorithm. You're trying to refine your algorithm and figure out the right amount of data and then what determines the best match. About 98% of our matches right now are happening within the first 1 to 2 people that get presented. That's pretty damn good. It's not perfect by no means. We don't have enough data to really, determine how good is that. So I think all of our opportunities is to continue to refine, collect the right data, and figure out what makes a great match. It's like Match.com versus eHarmony versus Tinder versus fill in the blank. They all do things slightly different, trying to play to different parts of the market. I would say our algorithm is unique to us and our success in matching. Our ability to be an all-in-one platform is also unique. And again, we're not a marketplace. We're a matching platform. That's where we deliver the most value.
Wonderful. Let's talk about fundraising. That's one of the hardest things. I'm actually doing my part as a founder now and not just as an investor, an angel investor. Yeah. So I'd love to hear your perspective and tell people, like, it's not as easy as you think. It's not about, oh, you're getting a check every day from Andreessen or Sequoia. No, when you're in the beginning stages, you just have to do a lot of work and effort. So I'd love to hear about how have you found your investors and how do you manage fundraising?
It sucks. I think we're all built for different parts and we find joy in different things. I think the only way that I've started to find some joy in fundraising is to manage it like our sales department manages our pipeline with funnel conversions and I don't want to put it, there's more organization, more structure around it. Like one of the things I did for our Series A is I got my own HubSpot account and I've created a funnel and I've got all this automation. I'm managing it like we manage our sales org and our tools and technology and all of that. I think that's made it easier for me and it's given me just more joy with it. But I would say again, though, this goes back to no different than leadership. Be on the outlook for connections, relationships that can connect you to the right people. For me, I've always been like an operator. I love being in the trenches. I love getting my hands dirty. I'm a builder. I wouldn't say I'm the best networker, right? I'm not at every party. I've got a family and 2 boys. I'm at soccer games. I can't be out at events all the time. That affects, my ability to be a good husband and a good father. But I know people that are at those events and I know people that have all those relationships. So for me to try to have that relationship is really key so that they can make those introductions for me when I need them. I would say that's been very successful for me. That's how we actually met, right? Through a connection I built a strong relationship with and he made an intro and now we have a strong relationship. That's where friends and family comes from. I hope you got some rich friends and family, right?
Right. Absolutely.
If you don't have rich friends and family, you're screwed at first. But you better go out and hustle and meet some folks that can make some introductions.
No, absolutely. For me, I'm telling you this, Danny, I tell people all the time, you're going to hear 99 no's until you get to that yes. And I've heard other successful CEOs who've made money, who've IPO'd, and obviously they love the people who gave the money, but in their hearts of hearts, they think about the person who said no. And it feels even greater to see them now and be like, yep, proved you wrong.
Oh, yeah.
That's the motivation I get.
Yeah, I sent out an investor update yesterday. As a matter of fact, you probably got that. And I was running numbers, right? So active investors got an update, but inactive investors got an update as well. And so it went to, what was it, like 100 and I think it was like 127 meetings. And out of that 127 meetings, I've only gotten 12 investors that have invested out of that 100 and some people, right? Now,
That's pretty good.
not bad. But again, what I'm doing is staying top of mind, right? I'm thinking about it like a marketer, like a salesperson. Like I want to stay top of mind for these people. That way, they may have not been interested when I had my first meeting, and they may never be interested. But if I can stay top of mind, they may be able to refer me to some when the timing is right and come in our B round or the A round that we're racing right now. Who knows what might happen? You can't predict the future. You just got to show up and do the work. And even when the work sucks and you hate it, you got to try to find that positive motivation to keep you grinding and doing and putting in the time. And it will work. I've even seen bad ideas get money and end up doing well. So you just never know. You just got to put your head down and don't give up.
How do you go about marketing your company? How do you get people the eyeballs to come and look at you and say, this is important. You should take a look at my company and give it a chance?
There's a new really popular term called a growth marketer. Every startup in America basically is trying to find the best growth. All that means is it's a scrappy marketer that doesn't just commit to one channel. You can't commit to one channel, because if you're like, we're going to run some radio spots and throw up a couple billboards and life's going to be good, it's just too competitive in every area today. So that kind of scrapper in me is always, we have to growth hack this. We have to try a lot of different things. We need to run a bunch of different experiments. We have to try different audiences, right? So whether we're on Facebook and building audiences and throwing $1,000 and then looking at our funnel, and we're looking at the tiniest, things all the time of, okay, we spent $1,000 on this growth experiment in this channel, and let's try to understand whether it worked and what was our cost to acquire and what type of customers did this drive and LTV. And then we're trying to say, let's either keep it and collect more data, or let's scrap it like it totally sucked. And that's what we're doing constantly. Right now we're looking at Quora as a channel and how would that work? We're looking at AngelList as a channel and what would that look like? Or Product Hunt does a newsletter. What does that channel look like? What are the costs associated and what are all the funnel metrics? But you can't just think, I'm going to throw all my money at Facebook and it's going to go well. Or even I'm going to growth hack this business and I'm going to just try this one hack and it's going to work great and we're going to be the next Airbnb. It happens, but it happens through hard work and dedication. Good marketing is trying a lot of different experiments and ultimately tracking those, reporting on the data, and then honing things till you get something really working. And then once it works and you're able to raise the capital, then you can pour fire on it, right? And that's when things get really interesting. That's essentially product market fit, when you are like, okay, if we poured a little gas on this, we'd be chasing the boulder down the hill. No longer are we sitting behind this thing, like waiting for it to roll back over and kill us.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, Danny, what's your most significant learning experience to date, or what would you have done differently now running FlexTal?
There's so many things. Gosh, what would I have done different? I think if I relate that to FlexTal, we did a lot of things. I think in my earlier years, I probably made a lot more mistakes. But I would say, I think I made a couple quick hires. I would say probably one of my biggest mistakes is trying to build out both our outbound sales and our inbound sales at the same time when neither one of them were ready. So inbound sales was not solid. We didn't have a good idea what our funnel metrics were. But yet then I took on building out the outbound sales team and brought on a VP and hired SDRs, and it was just too much at once, and we ended up spending more capital. And then I had to fire everybody is what ultimately happened, because we just weren't ready for it, and there wasn't enough tools and structure and management and everything there, that it just wasn't. I would say my biggest mistake at FlexTal. Again, we did a lot of things, but I think that comes with wisdom. You tend to get slapped and you try not to make those same mistakes. But I think just in general, the thing that I think a lot about is like patience. I suck at patience, but it's like a practice. Like every day I try to meditate, and part of my meditation is just getting in this mindset of patience, and patience enough to ask the right questions. And I say slow down to speed up. But I don't always listen to my words. Some people are really good at saying it, but not necessarily doing it. So slow down to speed up essentially means, to me, my dad used to say it because I used to race professional dirt bikes. So he'd be like, son, if you just slow down a little bit, you'll win. Like, you're crashing every time. Like, you're trying so damn hard that you're just crashing and getting hurt. Then you have to get back up. And that's why you're getting like third or second or fourth or fifth, and you're all over the place. He's like, just slow down a little bit. You can win every time. And I think that's true with a lot of founders. Not necessarily. I think operators are good. That's why they're good operators, is they're able to step in and assess things and just make really smart decisions, but they don't do it fast. I think founders are like, that's why they're called founders, right? They're like, there's an idea, there's an opportunity, we gotta move, we gotta do this. But then the founders don't end up being always the ones that operate and run the business and build the business long term, because they just can't they can't slow down enough. So I think if you're gonna be like a founder CEO, then know that you better slow your ass down, because once you figure out, solve the problem, and you have product market fit, now you're bringing in a lot of people. Not everyone's gonna be able to keep up with you. And if you can't slow your ass down, you're going to get your ass kicked out of the company is what you're going to get. That's just the reality. So that's been, I would say, my biggest mistake, is just always moving too quick and hurting relationships along the way. But realizing at some point, like I had to slow down, and it's a practice, because I still have that in me that I can fall into that really easily. And so I have to have that discipline to slow down and say, okay, let's take a look at everything. Let's assess, and when is the right decision to do X, Y, Z. That way, it's leadership, right? And everything rises and falls on it. If my team sees me constantly moving quick and making all these fast decisions and rash decisions, they start to lose trust, and you lose your team's trust. You're not going to be able to continue to build a great company. So yeah, that's what I'd say. Slow down to speed up. And if you want to be a founder CEO, that's one thing. If you want to just be the founder, that's another thing. And if you just want to continue to start ideas, that's a whole other thing too. Know who you are and what you want, and commit to that and see it through.
That's great advice, Danny. Thank you. My last question is, I'm sure you look at a bunch of books or publications or podcasts yourself. Like, what do you tell your team to listen to, or entrepreneurs to read or follow? What do you do to keep up to date with everything as you run a business?
It's so hard, right? Like, I think you're just consumed with everything, politics to marketing to everything under the sun. I think for me, I've always had this face the tiger mentality. And what I mean by that is, you're never going to be able to predict everything that you're going to go through, but know that there's resources out there when you do. So when you face that obstacle or challenge, just take it on and get the resources that you need, whether that's a mentor, a book, a podcast, whatever the hell it is, and dig into it, right? Pour your heart and soul into it. Learn it, apply it, lean into others that have been there, done it. But that's the face the tiger mentality. I think the other side of things is you have to take care of yourself. Because if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of anybody else. You just can't. And this is speaking from somebody I've gone through burnout. I've gone through a lot as a professional athlete and as an entrepreneur, because I push the limits to the point where it would go through some really tough stuff. And so I think you got to take care of yourself. And I think that means your mental well-being. And I think your emotional well-being means like having people that you can talk to and share your feelings with and what you're going through, and being open and honest and candid with one another. Because if you store that up, like, it'll wreck you. And then I think there's your physical well-being. That's where you get a lot of really good, healthy endorphins and the right chemicals. So I think exercise is really important. I think some spiritual well-being too, knowing that whatever your beliefs are, knowing that you're not there alone. There's going to be a lot of lonely days, and that there's something bigger out there that is there with you, going to help you, speak to you. And again, you got to be slow enough to listen to it though, or you're moving so fast that you're not going to hear those little voices. I think facing the tiger is my mentality and how I do, because I can't predict everything that's going to happen. But also I slow down enough to know that I got to take care of myself first, or I'm just going to suck all around and I'm going to be able to give nobody anything of value.
Wonderful. Thank you, Danny. And are there any questions for me that you have?
Questions for you. What are you excited about right now? I know you're helping play founder role right now. You're an active angel investor, but I guess what gets you out of bed every day and excited?
For me, I think I still love being someone in case of emergency contact. You sent me an email once, a couple of times, like, hey, we need some money. I'm like, okay, let me get to work. Let's figure this out. And I still love that. I still love guiding people and helping people. The moment I stop not wanting to do that, then I got to stop being an angel investor or a VC. And it's important to me to really take that on. It's something where I think about, I tell everybody, I'm your high school counselor. I'm just trying to get you through high school. And once we get your Series A, Danny, I hope we'll still talk to each other, whether we lead it or not. You're off to the next races, right? With the people who are going to be your college professors. My job is to get you your Series A And from there on, I wish you all the best and help in any way I can. That's the key. Because like you said, some people are good founders. Some people are good CEOs. Some people are better operators. It takes a different team to get you to one point to one point. I know my job and what I'm good at is to get you really early and get you ready to get product market fit, and then find people to get you the money to take off.
Yeah.
And that's what keeps me excited.
That's cool. No, I mean, you're great at it. I think for anybody, it's good to know your purpose. It's hard to, it's always hard to know what your purpose is, but once you find it, it's just, it feels great. And I think that for you, I think that, knowing you a pretty, good amount of time now, I would say that definitely is you. You're good at it, and that's what you stick to.
Thank you.
And you're careful not to go draw outside the lines.
Yeah, because like you said, you can't be everything to everybody, and you have to have time for yourself. Your work-life balance matters. I'm working out more myself. It was great advice, being more physical, and just taking time to to meditate or to just breathe. Yeah. Just to breathe, because I think about you, like what you said earlier, slow down and speed up. It makes perfect sense. Yeah. It makes perfect sense to me. I have to think about that because you walk around and you think, wow, how's everyone doing great? And you know what? No, they're not. No. There's ups and downs. Yeah.
Yeah, I think one thing that I think a lot about, at least lately, just because everything we've all been through, is be cautious when you go up to when you're talking, meeting with somebody, because it's easy to come up on someone super aggressive. Maybe you're all jacked up, but just know that whether it's a meeting or whatever it is, that we're all going through something. So we got to go easy on each other a little bit.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's great. Thank you so much, Danny. I think people are going to really enjoy the podcast and hear a lot of great advice from you and take it to heart. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for having me.